Alberta, OFC Men's Champions League kicking off this weekend. For your Auckland City side, obviously the expectation is always very high. As the head coach, how do you manage that amongst your players?
Well, I don't need to really tell them how important is the O-League, because most of those guys, they've been here before, they know what it means, and especially they know how hard it is to compete at this level in the islands against the strong teams. But to be fair, now is the time we start focusing on that, especially the players, because prior to that we had a very tight schedule with a lot of games coming very fast at you. So it's good for the players because they keep their mind on the present rather than being thinking about the whole league a lot. Now is the time to start thinking about that. It's nice to be here, so the players don't need to work on their jobs, so we can focus on football, which is when they feel like they full-time professional footballers while they're not. And that gives us extra sort of levels of concentrations, and that's important to compete in the O-League.
And in terms of the gap closing, obviously last season was very tight, last minute goal to keep you in that semi-final before winning it on penalties, and the final coming 2-0 up and being clawed back and eventually winning it in extra time. In terms of that gap, is that something that you're conscious of, and where do you see that gap closing? Is it the quality of player that other teams have, or is it how well they're coached, or the environments that these teams are now competing in?
I believe it's a bit of many different things and many different reasons. A good example was I feel as you mentioned in last O-League. It was a fantastic game, tough battle. I could tell that just by watching those games, some videos of them before they played against us in the semi-final, how well structured they were. I've always said that they were at that time the best team that we played against, at least in my own experience in the islands, and then I found out they had some help, from Australia as well. So I think globalization, it's a positive thing in every area on our society. Football is not different. I think everyone gets some ideas from here and there, and the gap, you can tell, is closing. We as Auckland City, we're trying to get better always. We were talking before with Gordon, our general manager, that with all the Champions League that I've been part of, either as a coach or as a coach or as a player, it's never been easy. So that gap, it's always been there. Minimum gap, obviously it's not increasing. I would always say that playing in the islands is a 50-50 chance you win or lose the game, so it's not really a gap. On that day you have to be the best team on the pitch, because to me it's not existence, that gap, and the results over the past few years prove that. Many times Auckland City has been on the verge of being knocked out, so it's down to a lot of details. So you need to be good technically but compete as well every time. You have to acclimatize to the circumstances, the weather, everything that we're not used to. So we never make excuses. So to me that gap really is non-existent once we're here. It's a 50-50, and again you have to do a lot of positive things and good things consistently to win that tournament.
You mentioned the climate. It's obviously very hot here in Tahiti. How much of an impact can that have, do you think, in terms of your side performance?
I think it's huge. That's a massive difference. The main one, I would say. You're playing against players that I believe they're more used to it than us. It's like when we played 2 seasons ago, the O-League in Auckland probably was the other way around. So it's definitely something that you have to take into consideration when you're preparing the games. Not just the way you train, but the way you play. Many times you have to, probably things that we do in New Zealand, changing a little bit, dictating the tempo on a low pace so you can last long in the game. That was very good last season, where we had to go to extra time, semi-final and final, and the players did a fantastic job. So we have a group of players that most of them, they've been in the islands, they know what it's like, it's a battle, they know that, and again, you can be technically very good, but it's much more than that, and the weather and the heat is something that influences the way you play the game. Hopefully we can convey that to players. Again, they know it, but another thing is to know it or to apply that onto the game day.